Hi, this is Tom, and oops, and in this video, we are going to look at properties of logarithms. So, there's actually three properties that I'm going to call it P1 for property 1, and it says this. It says if you have the log, any log in some base of two things being multiplied, say some number A times some number B, then what that means is you can write this as the log in base b of the first number plus the log in base b of the second number, b. That's the first property. The second property says the log in base b of two numbers being divided is equal to the log in base b of a minus the log in base b of b. And the third property says if I have the log, any log in base b of some number a raised to an exponent maybe c, then this is the same as c times the log in base b of a. In other words, the c can just be moved out and made into multiplication. Now, I'm going to show you how these are, at least the first one is derived. Actually, we'll go through each one and show you how they're derived, and then you don't have to be able to derive them, but it helps to see what's going on. The important thing is in our next video, we'll be actually using these properties to solve problems. All right, so let's try this. Notice that I have that, I'm going to go proof. We'll just do one of these, I think. P1. Proof of P1. And here's how it goes. So suppose that we can write the number A in base B. So it doesn't mean that A equals B. What it means is that if you raise B to some number, it'll equal A. And we're going to do this for B as well. B can be written in that same base to raised to some other power. Okay, now a little bit of a review, a recall. Recall if I have something like x squared times x cubed, I can turn this into x to the 2 plus 3. In other words, the exponents are added. Or you could think of it this way, or say I have 2 raised to the x, and I multiply by 2 raised to the y, well, then again, since the bases match in both of these examples, we just add the exponents, 2 to the x plus y. So let's use these properties. So we're here, we have the log in base b of a times b. Well, I'm going to just rewrite capital A as b to the x and capital B as little b to the y. So this is the same as the log in base b of b to the x times b to the y. Now we can do now let's use what we just recalled above. This becomes then the log in base b of b raised to the x plus y. Now remember what we said earlier now remember that if we have the bases match the log in base b of b, well, the answer is very simply then just whatever the exponent is. So now we're left with x plus y. Okay, now, but remember, let's look at what we did. Here we said that a, okay, so now we're going to use this. If a is equal to b raised to the x, if that exponential is true, then we can also say then that the log in base b of a is equal to x. And we have one more. We know that if capital B is b to the y. We also know then that we can write this as log base b of b is equal to y. So now we can just substitute these values back in to what we found. So we say that this is equal to the log base b of a plus log base b of b. And if we look up above, that's exactly what we wanted. Now, if that seems confusing or you don't like a proof, that's okay. But that's where how it's derived. So all three of these formulas, these three properties, we're going to utilize now to solve some problems. So let's try a couple. So we're going to do this. Use the properties of logs. Properties of logarithms to, I'm going to say, expand the expression. Okay, so here's the first one we're going to take a look at. We have the log base 3 of 3x squared. So notice that we have a string of multiplication. So I'm going to think of this as the log in base 3 of, I'm going to think of it this way, of 3 times x squared. Well, we just proved that you can rewrite that as the log base 3 of 3 plus the log in base 3 of x squared. Now, look at what just happened. Log base 3 of 3, when the bases match, well, then that answer, when the log of the base equals the log of the argument, when these 3's are the same, the answer is always 1. So this just becomes 1 plus. Now, let's use P3, and I'm going to go up and look. So hold on, we're going to go back up. Notice here, property 3 says that if we have the log of a number, like this, raised to the exponent, then we can just move the exponent, just gets moved out in front of the log and turned into multiplication. So let's do that. So now, the second piece becomes 2 times the log base 3 of x. And that's your answer. It's 1 plus, and you write 2. You usually don't write the times sign, so 2 log base 3 of x. All right, one more problem. Let's try a challenging problem here. Let's try this. I'm going to scroll down a bit, and let's try this. We're going to simplify the log. Well, it's just a log. We'll just deal with the log of ab squared. ab squared divided by 100 c cubed. Okay. Well, right off the bat, I have something divided by something. So let's rewrite this as log. Now, this is property 2. Log. I'm going to come up and show you. See, look at property 1. Property 1 says that if two numbers are being multiplied, you can change it to addition. Property 2 says that if you start with addition, you change it to subtraction. So, come down here, and this becomes the subtraction problem. So we have the log of ab squared minus the log of 100c cubed. Now we can begin to expand each of these because this is the log of a product. So we can write this as the log of A plus the log of B squared minus, now when we break out this piece, this next log, remember that all of this came from the denominator, so I'm going to have to put a parenthesis in there. Minus, well, this bottom part becomes the log of 100 plus the log of C cubed. Okay, now let's do another step. I can write this as the log of A plus, we can move this 2 out in front by property 3. By property 3, I'll put a little P3 there. So this becomes 2 log B minus, now if you don't write a base and we write log, remember that it's implied to be 10. So in other words, this term right here, the log of 100, remember what that means. That means that 10 raised to what power is 100? And the answer is 2. So this becomes, oh, whoops, not an equal. So this becomes minus 2 plus, and then property 3 again, so I can write this as 3 log C. And if you want, you could even maybe clean it up a little bit, drop the parentheses. You could say that this is the same as taking the log of A plus 2 times the log of B minus 2 minus 3 times the log of C. And those are the properties of logarithms. In our next video, we're going to look at how we use these properties to solve problems. So thank you for watching.